Push down and move the CPU latch to the side, then pull up the latch. Remove the CPU socket cover. There are two notches located at the top of the CPU and the CPU socket. Also, a dot is located at the corner of the socket and an arrow on the CPU. This helps with proper installation. Push down the CPU latch, move the latch to the side until it's secure, officially installing the CPU. Install the M2 standoff. Install the solid-state drive to M2.1. I'm demonstrating how I format and install the M9i. Pull the fan clip back to loosen the 92mm fan. I flip my fan around to have the cable start at the top right corner. I try to keep the 4-pin CPU cable between the fan and the copper base plate. Realign the fan to the center of the heatsink. Pull each fan clip back until secure with the first indented lines. Align the M9 backplate with the 4 holes of the motherboard. Gently push down 4 hexagon pillars into the holes. Keep the hexagons aligned with the backplate's indentations. This varies for all motherboards, but the backplate may be secure or loose. Turn over the motherboard. Notice the 4 hexagon pillars are visible. Place the mounting bars like an X onto the hexagon pillars. Install 2 thumb screw caps for each mounting bar. I used my Arctic MX4 because I've been using it recently. Cryorig already gives a thermal compound called cryopaste. Apply about a BB size or pea size on the center of the CPU. My attempt appears to be the pea size. I do not spread the thermal paste to prevent uneven spread and air bubbles. It will automatically spread when the heatsink is installed. Align the heatsink's mounting plate screws. You don't need to use your hands as I did. A screwdriver is just fine. Keep turning clockwise until they stop. Install the fan to the heatsink. Make sure the fan is centered. Install the CPU cable to the CPU fan. Install the RAM. Install dual memory to the black or gray DIMM slots. Push down each DIMM slot latch. Align each RAM into place and push down from left to right until you hear a click or it's secured. Sometimes RAM easily goes in, and sometimes it doesn't. Remove 2 PCI slots ahead of time to prepare insulation for the graphics card. Install the I/O shield onto the case. Align with each corner and push in until it feels secure enough. Now, let's install the motherboard standoffs, a total of 6 for a micro ATX. Suggestion 1, refer to the manual or the case for motherboard installations. Suggestion 2, if you're unsure about where to install the standoffs, temporarily align the case and the motherboard holes. This will help you determine where the standoffs must be. I'm using a 3-inch driver socket extension bar attached with a 3/16 hex bit. So let's tighten the standoffs. You don't want these to become loose and stuck with the screws when you need to install the motherboard. I'm using a Silverstone extension cable, the 4+4 8-pin EPS which powers the CPU. There is a hole near the I/O shield. Run the 8-pin cable through the hole. It will be best to lay the case flat while giving enough access for the 8-pin extension cable. Align the motherboard in the standoff holes. You're also aligning the I/O shield in the I/O ports. This case is tight, so tilt the I/O ports first to fit a full-size micro ATX motherboard. I'm combining acrylic washers with the motherboard screws, a total of 6. I'll be using my precision screwdriver, though a Phillips screwdriver works fine too. Now connect the CPU cable to the CPU connector. The space is tight. I installed half a pin, one at a time. You should hear clicking, which means it's fully connected. Now let's install the HD audio cable. Next, install the power supply. I prefer to keep my fan facing down. Try to align the holes of the power supply and the case. You may have to readjust again when you're ready to screw it in. There are 4 power supply screws total. I didn't fully install the screws until they were all aligned. You don't need to do this by hand. Using my precision screwdriver to finish installing the power supply. Next, route the 24-pin cable through the hole. This may vary upon the motherboard layout. Sorry, this did take some time because it's very tight. I'm stating the obvious. Be gentle as much as possible. Slowly pull the 24-pin and push the access wires at the same time. This gently bends the wires until you're able to install the 24-pin connector. Again, this took me some time. My apology. Now need to make sure it's fully in. Done! Next, let's install the 2.0 USB connector. Now install the 3.0 USB connector. These are the front panel cables. The power switch connects at the top, reset switch connects at the bottom. Power LED positive negative at the top, hard drive LED positive negative at the bottom. Now let's install the front panel cables. You can do this one at a time or connect all at once. If uncertain, then refer to the manual or the motherboard about the connections. Reinstall the hard drive cage if necessary. I removed this earlier to figure out where my wires would be routed. Align the hole at the top of the cage and screw this back in. Rescrew the bottom of the hard drive cage. I purchased a second 120mm case fan. I'll install it at the top front of the case. Partially installed the 4 case fan screws. This helps align the case fan without issues. You may need to readjust if it feels too loose or too tight. Install the 3-pin case fan to chop fan 1. Removed earlier, reinstall the 120mm case fan, originally from the back of the case. Install the 3-pin case fan to chop fan 2. Behind the case and motherboard, connect the CPU cable to the extension cable. This can take some force. I didn't record connecting the 24-pin cable to the extension cable. It was very difficult and took about 10 minutes. I used one zip tie and one Velcro strap, easier to upgrade or add in parts. Now let's reinstall the right panel. Reinstall the screws that came with the panel. Reinstall the front panel. The holes will guide you. Install the GTX 1050. Push down the PCIe latch. Gently push down the graphics card. Start from where the latch is and back to the slots. Install the 2 PCI screws. This is how I used 120mm filters with magnetic tape. They can be placed inside the case or at the top. Press the power button. If this continues to run, then the computer is ready to install an operating system. It's ready. And that's it for building a computer. Thanks for watching.